So over the last 48 hours or so, there has been a ridiculous amount of fight announcements for many different cards. A lot of main events for Apex events, a main event for a crowded event. There's a lot going on right now with the UFC, and I just wanted to go through everything pretty much that has been announced. Of course, this is all through Big Marcel 24, who I like a lot as a source. I think he is probably one of the better sources because he doesn't try and be first, he just tries to be accurate. For example, Garbrandt versus Figgy was announced for UFC 300 yesterday by AG Fight, but Marcel didn't post it today because he's got to get confirmation from Garbrandt's team and Figueiredo's team before he does do the announcement. But over the last few days, there's been so many fights, and I'm gonna try and get through all of them. I believe I've covered all the way up to here, so we're gonna get through it. We're gonna get through it pretty quickly. I'm gonna start, of course, with UFC 300's fight, Garbrandt versus Figgy. This is a big fight. It'll be on the prelims. It's gonna be a banger for sure. Former champion in Garbrandt in bantamweight, and then former champion in Figgy in flyweight. Do I like the matchup? I don't hate it, to be honest. A lot of people are a little bit concerned with the fact that Cody Garbrandt could get knocked out. And to be honest with you, I do think Cody Garbrandt is going to get knocked out. But it's a good opportunity for Garbrandt to get back in the rankings, I guess. Because Garbrandt is a really good fighter. The problem is he just gets too aggressive. He gets caught. He leaves himself too open. He looked pretty good in his last matchup when he did take on Kelleher. He looked good before that against Trevin Jones. Massive step up in competition though, but at the end of the day though, Garbrandt was taking on Kai Kara France, and he was taking on Dillashaw and a Sunsao, knocked out a Sunsao, so he was fighting ranked opponents, then took a big step down in competition, and now he gets a big step up. He called out Figgy, he gets the Figgy fight. I do think Figueiredo knocks him out, but I think it's going to be a good fight. I'm looking forward to it because both these guys do have really good boxing, so let's see how it goes. Then we got announced Taito Iwasa's next fight. Unfortunately, it's in the Apex, which sucks. I will be honest, having this fight in the Apex is a bit wrong because Taito Iwasa is a fighter that fights in front of a crowd. But of course, there could be a reason for this. Maybe Taito Iwasa said, hey, for my next fight, I just want to fight in the Apex. I don't want to fight in front of a crowd. Maybe, I mean, you don't know what people are like. Maybe he just kind of wants a break from an event in front of a crowd. So here we go. We got Tuivasa versus Tybura. A bad matchup for Tuivasa, but very winnable as well, as you guys probably all know by now. Tuivasa is a Muay Thai striker. He's got a lot of power. His takedown defense is pretty good. He's going to be the better striker here, but Tybura is going to want to get the fight down to the ground. It comes down to whether or not Tuivasa can knock out Marcin. I have been picking against Tuivasa recently. I think I might go with him here. Low confidence though, because Taito Iwasa, he's a good fighter, you know. At one point he fought for the interim title against Cyril Gane. I like Taito Iwasa as a fighter. I have been picking against him recently a little bit, but I do think he can get by Tybura. Let me know what you think in the comments below though. I think there might be a lot of people picking Marcin in this matchup. And then we've got a main event for UFC Atlantic City, in Atlantic City, New Jersey. So this event is going to be in front of a crowd, and the main event is Sean Brady taking on Vicente Luque. I believe he said it was an update, so maybe something fell through, but this is the main event right now for that card in Atlantic City. It's going to be Sean Brady versus Luque. A good event. A lot of people like Brady. A lot of people like Luque. Brady humbled me a lot in his last fight, because I picked against Sean Brady. I just didn't think that he would get through Calvin Gastelum. I thought as long as the fight was on the feet, he was going to be in trouble. And he went out there, he out-wrestled Gastelum, and he dominated Gastelum. The problem with this matchup, though, for Brady, is Luque is really good at grappling himself. His wrestling is, I guess, not as good as Brady's, but his striking, of course, is a lot better. So I feel like there's a lot of ways for Luque to win this fight, and only real one way for Brady to win the fight, because I feel like Brady would have to go out there and get the takedowns, avoid the striking, because he will be the worst striker. He got finished by Bilal Muhammad, and Luque's a powerful guy on the feet. He's a good grappler himself. It's going to be a close fight, man. I'm going to lean Brady, but I think this is a pick that could change. Once again, let me know what you think of this one in the comments, because I feel like there's going to be a lot of people on either side in this one here. It's a hard fight to pick, but Brady looked really good against Gastelum, I think. But it's 5 rounds, though. Oh, I really think Luque could do it. I really think Luque could even be losing 2 rounds and then just get a knockout out of nowhere. Man, that's a tough fight. I'm gonna go down to the next main event that was announced. It is Amanda Ribas taking on Rose Namajunas. It's a good fight. It's a great fight, actually. I think my comment summarizes it pretty well. Ribas and Rose always have fun fights. Not sure how to feel about it being a main event, but this will be a good fight. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about this fight. I mean, obviously, I commented it, so it's going to be a fun fight. It's at 125, which is interesting. I think Ribas has been fighting at 115 recently, so maybe she chose to go back to 125. Rose is committed to 125 now, I believe. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm going to go with Rose. I think that we will see a lot of people on Ribas. Ribas is very hittable on the feet, which does worry me a little bit. Rose is a good fighter. I don't know how to. I just can't trust Rose anymore, man. Like, I just don't know. Like, this is this is tough. It's a fun fight. I really look forward to it. I think I'll be a lot more excited for it closer to the time. As a main event, I'm a little bit 50-50. I mean, Rose is a big name. She's been on pay-per-views before. Former champion, of course. One of the greatest strawweights to do it, just because of who she beat in her run in 115. I might go with Rose. It's a close fight. And now we've got... Okay, we'll move on to the next fights that were announced. I'll get through this one pretty quick. Ignacio Bahamondes taking on Christos Giagos. I like Bahamondes here. I think he keeps it on the feet. I think he can outstrike Christos Giagos. That's kind of what it comes down to. And then you've got Norma Dumont taking on Jermaine de Randamie. The most, I guess, interesting part about this is it's at 135. Obviously, Jermaine de Randamie hasn't fought in a long time. I almost want to say the last time she fought was like in 2021, maybe 2020. Like, it's been a long time. Or maybe she fought recently and I just can't remember. But 115, Norma Dumont now has to go out there and make 135 pounds, sorry, which will be pretty tough because she probably was one of the pure featherweights that they did have, but it seems more and more obvious to me that the UFC is saying goodbye to 145, which I think is a good thing. That roster was really shallow. It just never really made sense as a division. They just didn't have the fighters to do it. Maybe as the sport grows and women's MMA becomes more popular, they could see more. I want to see women's 105, women's atomweight. I think they could do it. There's a lot of really good atomweights out there. You know, there's some in Mexico, there's some overseas in Japan, of course, as well. And there's a lot of fighters like Tisha Torres comes to mind. And there's others as well that are like Denise Gomes and Rayanne Amanda dos Santos, who are small for 115 that could make 105. I mean, Rayanne Amanda dos Santos was a atomweight before she signed to the UFC. So I think they could do it. I think they could do 105. That's probably a different video. And now, of course, I probably should have talked about this one earlier. Brandon Moreno taking on Brandon Royval. Amir Albazi has pulled out of the fight against Moreno. I don't know what for. I don't know the reason. Someone let me know if you guys know. But here it is. And this makes things really awkward, though, for 125. I might have to make I might make a separate video on this. At 125, because Manel Karp, 125 is a mess right now, because Manel Karp versus Nicolau's been cancelled, because I felt like if Manel Karp beat Nicolau, he would get the next title shot against Alejandro Pantoja, and Moreno would have to wait out, or maybe fight someone else, or if Albazi won, then they could do Albazi, you know what I mean? But now there's no Karp fight, so now the winner of this fight is probably going to get the title shot against Pantoja. This makes things awkward, though, because Pantoja has already beaten them twice in the UFC, and he's beaten Moreno 3 times if you include the Ultimate Fighter fight. So, yeah, just 2 guys that have fought the champion and lost the champion, and then the winner will probably fight the champion. It's a weird fight in that sort of aspect. I am gonna go with Moreno, though. I think Moreno beats Royval. I thought this might have been a rematch, but it's not. So it's interesting they've never fought each other. Royval's going to be dangerous on the feet, but Moreno's boxing is pretty good. Obviously, as we all know. It's going to be a fun fight. I mean, Royval fights are always fun. I'm just kind of thinking in the aspect of, man, it's going to be awkward at 125 now in that title picture. The pick is Moreno, though. This is a banger. I look forward to this. I mean, Trey Ogden, though, in my opinion, isn't the most exciting fighter in the world. But when you put him in there against Kurt Holobaugh, you're going to get a good fight. Kurt Holobaugh he's an older guy now. He won on The Ultimate Fighter, of course. and this is his UFC debut after winning tough, taking on Trey Ogden. Kolobar's a really good grappler. He's got power on the feet. He's aggressive. I think he goes out there and beats Trey Ogden, to be honest with you. Ogden's never got a KO in 16 fights, which is really impressive. He's a good grappler, though. His striking is weirdly good. He was beating Motta on the feet, and he also beat Daniel Zellhuber on the feet as well, which just happened somehow. So yeah, I mean, I could see Holobar losing, but I think Holobar does win. He beat Austin Hubbard, looked pretty good in that fight, in my opinion. Got the armbar. The first round was competitive. I like the fight. I like this fight a lot. I like Holobar in this matchup. I feel like you could do Kurt Holobar versus Trevor Peek and have the most fun fight of all time. Honestly, I think there's going to be some great fights to come in Holobar's career. Then we've got the next one, Alexander Hernandez taking on Damon Jackson. Damon Jackson replied to my comment, so me and Damon Jackson are close now, of course. I just said it's a bounce back fight for Damon. I didn't really mean anything by it, but what I meant really is Damon Jackson's going to win this fight, for sure. Like, this is a good fight for Damon. I'm pretty confident he goes out there and beats Hernandez. Hernandez, just at the moment, is just so questionable to me. His cardio's a bit off, and his cardio is not good at 145. Damon Jackson, if he wrestles, he'll win, for sure. It's kind of what it comes down to. And yeah, the pick's Damon Jackson, of course. Okay, I'm going to be honest. This one is actually kind of tough, because Herbert Burns is a really good grappler. Like, really good at grappling. And if he gets Julio Arce down, the fight could be over. It genuinely could be. But the problem is Herbert Burns' cardio is really bad. And he's also had a lot of really bad leg injuries as well. Like, I think he fought his last fight injured, where he got finished embarrassingly after gassing out in 2 minutes. But it could have come down to the injury as well. Herbert Burns is just a question to me, because I actually think he's a good fighter. Like, I think he's a better fighter than people give him credit for, because people will clown on Herbert Burns for his recent performance. But at the end of the day, he's dealt with some really bad injuries, you know, throughout his career. But he's really good at grappling. And Arce, of course, is a striker. It's interesting to see how this is going to go. I am going to pick Julio Arce, though, probably by TKO. I think Herbert Burns will gas and get finished in the second or third round. Herbert Burns could sub him in the first, though. Like, he's a really good grappler. I do want to emphasize that again. Randy Brown versus Muslim Salikov. When I saw this fight, I thought it might have been a rematch. For some reason, I thought these two had fought each other before, but they haven't. It's a good stylistic fight, because they're both strikers, and Randy Brown especially is a very lengthy striker. Obviously, he's a tall guy with a long reach. Muslim Salikov, kind of so as well. Kung Fu fighter is Salikov. More of a boxer, I guess I would say Randy Brown is. It's going to be a good fight. Now, the pick is questionable, because I don't think Randy Brown's looked that great recently. I didn't think he looked that good against the middleweight that fought him, the Brazilian middleweight. I can picture his face. Oh, anyway, I didn't think Randy Brown looked that great. The next one, I don't want to sound disrespectful here, but this is a real bottom of the barrel 155 fight, and I think the UFC is just trying to get Muhammad Yahya a win here. Now, Brendan Marat went out there and he did fight on short notice. I can't actually remember who it was against, but he got knocked out very early. I'm actually going to search this up. Sorry, guys. Just mid-video. He went out there and he got KO'd in the first round pretty badly in his first fight against Terrence McKinney on very short notice in 20 seconds. And before that, he hasn't really fought anyone that good. So maybe the UFC is thinking, you know what? I think Muhammad Yahya might be able to beat him, because as you guys may or may not know, Muhammad Yahya is from the UAE. He's actually from the UAE. He's not like from Russia representing the UAE. He's from there. And of course, the UFC probably wants to get into that market. There's a lot of money there. I'm going to go with Yahya, but when I picked against Yahya when he fought Peak, just because I was watching tape on Muhammad Yahya and I didn't think he looked very good. This fight is going to be in Saudi Arabia, so it's going to be Muhammad Yahya's home country. For Brandon Marat, it's just a really good opportunity to go to Saudi Arabia. I mean, Saudi Arabia is like a pretty hot topic right now, like with what they're doing to try and get more tourists over to the country. I'm going to have to watch so much tape on this fight to make an official pick, though. Pray for me. Pray for me. Marat could win. I don't think Yaya's good at all. I don't think he's UFC level. I said that, and I don't know if Marat is UFC level either. But I'll just have to make. Oh my goodness! It's just anyway. Then now the final fight I wanted to talk about is Brad Riddell's return. Brad Riddell, who is his manager? Who is Brad Riddell's manager? Because Brad Riddell retired, and now he's coming back against the grappler. What's going on here, man? Like, Brad Riddell's a really good fighter. He's just on a really unfortunate losing streak right now. What's he doing?